This is Travel School episode 3. We're going to be talking about my favorite method of traveling, which is bundling multiple destinations together. We're going to be using the same search engine, the same tactics that you learned in episode 2. So if you have not watched that video, watch that video because nothing else will make sense if you don't. So let's get started. I love to bundle my countries together, mainly because one, it's cheaper. It is by far cheaper to bundle your countries together if you do it correctly. And also because I like to explore a lot and I don't really spend that much time in one destination. I think 5 days max. And then I'm like, okay, get me out of here. I've seen enough. Because I can kind of cover a lot of ground when I'm traveling. So being able to go from one place, to another is really my preferred style of traveling. So if you have not traveled to multiple destinations in one trip, you should do so. In fact, if you are not traveling to multiple destinations in one trip, you might be a fool. This particular video, I'm going to, describe how to do it, but I'm also going to show you. So in the first half of the video, I'm just going to kind of explain certain things to look out for, tell you what you need for the purposes of this video. And then the second half, I'm going to spend going through some examples, screen recordings, and just showing you how to actually do it step by step. You're going to notice in this video that I kind of say for the purposes of this video, because I'm kind of omitting another crucial step when booking multiple countries at once, because it's a whole video in itself, and that's stopovers. And stopovers are not black and white at all, and I don't want to overwhelm people. This is a beginner travel or even intermediate travel, but just learning the ins and outs of travel. I don't want to overwhelm you. So we're just starting with just picking the flights. My next video, of course, like I said, will be about the stopover programs and how that factors in when I am booking multiple countries, and pretty much how you can travel to multiple countries for $0. For starters, this video will make a lot of sense if you watch my first 2 episodes from Travel School, your why of traveling, and then just how to pick flights in general. You want to start from the basics. Don't try to skip steps. Open up Google Flights. Again, I use Google Flights for everything. I know there's Hopper, Skyscanner, all those other things. But for me, Google Flights has definitely been the most reliable, and it's what I stick with. I don't need anything else. You're going to type in Google Flights in your browser. Before you kind of get into like plugging in destinations, the first thing you want to do is have one location in mind. So for example, if you say you want to travel to Thailand, you want to research surrounding countries. You don't want to, when I say multi-country, I don't mean like going to Thailand and then going to Barbados. You will not save money. Those countries are not next to each other. So you want to know what your main country is going to be. That's kind of going to be your focal point of the trip. And then, of course, you want to do your research, like what are the countries around it, and just kind of have those countries in mind. So you get your home airport. Like I said, for me, my home airports, my base is typically EWR, JFK, and in rare cases, LaGuardia, so LGA. If you're in the tri-state, just plug that in, for research purposes, or Philly, if Philly is closer to you. You want to start off with round trip. So you want to round trip from your home airport to that one country that's your focal point. And you're going to kind of see like, what are the prices? Check the prices, check the layovers, how long are the layovers, how many layovers. You want to check that. Once you do that, you can write that down, take a mental note of what those things are. Then you're going to go back to the tab that says multi-city. Once you do that, you're going to, again, put in your home country, the second country, your home airport, the second country, and then the next country that you decide on. Typically, I usually do 3. I would say that I do 3. I would do at least 3 countries, but if you're starting out, you'll just do 2. And then you're going to compare the pricing once you put in the second country. Now, immediately, it may not always be cheaper. You'll have to play around with dates. On Google Flights, you can kind of see they'll put each destination, which day do you want to leave? This is not the day that you land. This is the day that you leave. So you want to space out your travel, know your start and ending date if you have one. If you have a strict deadline, you want to know that. And then check notes of the dates. You want to check notes of the layovers of both countries. And the time it takes for you to get to another country. Sometimes they'll say like a +1, that means you're getting to the country the next day. And sometimes they'll say +2, that means you're getting to a country 2 days after you depart. The reason why that's relevant is because if you're trying to go to the next city, you want to make sure that you have enough time in that one country before you go to the next. It's also important because that's how you're going to book your hotel. If you leave on the 17th and it has a +2 on that first city, do not book your hotel for the 17th. You're going to book your hotel for the 19th. I have made that mistake, but luckily it had free cancellation and stuff like that. So I was good to go. So just make note of those things when you are booking. So then you're going to compare and contrast the prices of those and see, like, is it really cheaper? If it's not cheaper, then it's not a deal. Typically, in my experience, the way to get the best price is you want to put the country that is closest to your home country first. Morocco and Spain, you would put Spain as the first country you're going to travel to because Spain has more direct flights. You're more likely to get a direct flight to Spain than you are to Morocco. And because it's a shorter flight, less fuel, less things, it will be typically it is cheaper. So you want to have Spain as your first stop, and then Morocco as your second. You want to time these things in the way that's optimal for you. For me, when I did my trip to Asia, I knew that I want to be in Thailand on my birthday. So Thailand ended up being, and it was a focal point of my trip, but Thailand ended up being the tail end of my trip, the last destination of the 3. Tokyo was the easiest and the cheapest to get to. That's why I did it first. And South Korea just kind of got bundled in there because, one, it was very close to Japan and it was actually cheaper to add in South Korea. So I just add that right in. And then, of course, South Korea is very easy to travel to Thailand. So that's kind of how I plan my trip. And that's what you're going to do for like any trip you're planning when you're dealing with multiple countries. You want to check the layovers. And once you do that, say you have your country, your 2 countries, 2 or 3 countries, you have that. You have the dates you want to go. And you took note of the layovers. The next thing you want to do, you want to Google the airports of your layovers. Please Google the airports of your layovers. If you're not an experienced traveler, it can get confusing going to a foreign country and navigating customs. One repeat offender that causes people some issues is Paris. Paris is a very big airport with such a rigorous customs and security lines that people just fear Paris airport. I typically do not do any cross-country layover with a layover less than 3 hours because, one, there could be times for delays, and a lot of these flights are segued in a way that it's very hard to reconnect once you miss that second flight. Like, your whole trip will be thrown off by like 2 to 3 days. It's not like the United States where you miss one flight, another one is leaving in an hour. No. You want to make sure you do not miss your international flights. I've missed an international flight before, but it is what it is. But yeah, you don't want to miss your international flight. So you want to provide a cushion. You also, for the purposes of this video, you also don't want to have a layover that's too long because, what are you going to do in that time period? Don't make your layover too long, especially if you don't have a plan for like a hotel or things to do. How long it'll take to get to the site that you're trying to explore, the city you're trying to explore, and get back to the airport and leave time for mishaps and all that other stuff. So, a happy medium is like a 5-hour layover, but you're pushing it when you get to 10 because it's like a day trip, but it's pushing it. And also layovers that are overnight. There are a lot of airlines that have overnight layovers. Unless you have somewhere to go, you want to avoid those layovers. Again, you can take those layovers. I do not take those layovers that are overnight or like funky hours. It'll be like 5:30 a.m. I don't want that for myself because what I'm going to do in the airport, usually at those hours, the airport is kind of closed up until like 8-9 o'clock, and it's kind of slow to get out of the airport because everybody is still sleeping. So you want to monitor those things. It might be cheaper up front, but if you have to get a visa, which costs money, if you have to get a hotel, which costs money, Those are all the things that you consider in the overall cost of the flight. Another thing I consider when I'm booking these flights is the quality of the airline. I am not going to, I might be a little classist, but I typically do not fly with airlines that don't have like a strong reputation or high standards of customer service in the skies. Because if I'm in a foreign country, I need to know that I have a strong customer service team behind me that's going to get me to where I need to go without a hassle. Like, I will not be taking the Frontier Airlines of China to go anywhere because I do not want to be trapped in China. There are certain airlines, if you miss a flight, they will not put you on the next one without you paying. But there are certain airlines that will do that. So it might be worth it to pay an extra $100 to get with an airline that's going to take care of you in the event that something happens on your flight, than saving $100 and then it costs you $2,000 to rebook a flight when something goes wrong. So I'm very cautious about the airline type. Now, again, you can pick any old airline that you want to, but me personally, I will not. Not everything that appears cheap on the first look is the cheapest option. So you kind of have to be like savvy about it. But I'm going to teach you how. This is what I'm here for. I'm here to teach you how to be savvy with your travel, how to save money. I'd say that's about it, for booking, like bundling these trips together. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do like a screen recording and do a voiceover. So I'm not just talking at you this entire time. So follow along. All right. So I'm assuming that you're on your browser and ready to go. If not, you snooze, you lose. So you're going to click on the tab, round trip, one way. And I just have to show y'all. You see how they have Los Angeles for $91? Corporate America is petty. That place is on fire. But anyway, let's focus. So you're going to hit multi-city, just like we discussed. And of course, it's going to pop up to my home airport, which is Newark. And it just puts these dates. Of course, that's not the dates you might want to travel. It's just random dates that they put in the system automatically. So for the purposes of the video, we're going to be doing Thailand, the trip that I did for my birthday. So I'm going to put in Phuket, for my first trip, and that is going to be the focal point like I talked about. And again, this is just me playing around with dates. So we are going to go ahead and search and see what comes up. So you see a few flights. You see one that stands out. That one is $1,300. But for the most part, you'll see, like, once I scroll, that a lot of the flights hover around $1,700, $1,800. You even have one that's $1,200. And again, this is like 2 weeks away. So I selected the first one, the cheapest one. If you notice, this flight has an overnight layover in Hong Kong, which might require you to leave the airport. So again, it is cheap, but think of the fact that you might need a visa and how much it will cost for you to get a visa to China in order to take this flight. This is also a reason why it might also be cheaper up front, because they know that there are other hidden costs with booking that flight. So we're going to go back. We're going to try another flight. We're going to try, let's see, the 1700 flight. Yeah, let's see that one. And again, I'm not picking the return flights yet. I'm just looking at the first flight just to give you an idea of what you see. So you see it's a 4 and 45 minute layover, but it's overnight. The airport might be closed. You might not have stuff to do. Again, they do have a layover stopover program, but again, I'm just showing you what to look for when looking for these flights. So that one's a no. So we're going to pick another flight. So let's see. All right, we picked up the $1,800 flight, and this layover is only 2 hours. Again, I wouldn't pick this flight because it doesn't give me enough time. Well, it might give you enough time, but again, I don't want to rush myself, especially if I'm a person who just started traveling. So we're not going to select this flight either. The next flight on the list, let's see. We are going to let's do the $1,200 flight. Okay. We look at the layovers. We have one that's in Turkey. It's about 3 hours, so it's doable. And then you see that 12-hour layover in Mumbai. Now, if you remember in one of my first videos, I talked about India and being that country where you must get a visa, even if you're in transit. So again, it is $1,200, but you're going to need to factor in a visa and as well as a hotel. So that might not be the best option for you. So again, we go back to our search and we look at the prices. We see that it's kind of like hovering over the $1,700, $1,800 mark, for the best type of flight with, an airline that I would like. So now we're going to add another country. We are going to add Tokyo. Again, this is pretty much how I booked my birthday trip. So you want to adjust the dates and the cities to put it in order. Remember, Tokyo is going to be the flight that is, the easiest to get to. So that's going to be the first stop. And my home airport remains the same, of Newark, New Jersey, EWR. And you're going to see the flights. We've added a country, and yet the prices remain the same. But you see how the flights are nonstop? Technically, it's cheaper because it's the same price for one country versus two, but the flights are nonstop. Just like I said, the country that's easiest to get to is going to make the trip cheaper. And you see other flights, you're now getting into the 1400s, which is even cheaper than just one country alone. But we're not done. You still have to look at a few more things. So I clicked on that first flight, just so you can see like what the other options are. And remember how I talked about, those budget airlines and the cheaper airlines. You'll see we don't want to do that. We're just clicking on it for the purpose of this video. But again, you'll see there's a stopover in Hong Kong, and this is what the flight comes out to. It comes out to $2,300, and I want you to look at this flight. And you see how the flight jumped up to $2,300 when I selected all of my flights. In my video, when I was talking about picking flights, I mentioned to you that I don't like number chase, but I book according to patterns, because again, flight prices change at any time, at any minute. And this is just literally a few seconds. And so when people say that it's the best book on a Tuesday, Wednesday, today is Tuesday when I'm recording this video, to give you some reference. So no, it's not always that. So if you look for patterns, it's a better way of booking your flights than just chasing a number. All right, back to what I was doing. I was pretty much fumbling with some numbers while I was taking note of that 2,300 mark. So again, back to looking at these flights. So now that I know the price has changed, now I'm switching up the dates. Still the same cities, but now different dates. And now we're down to about $1,300 with Air Canada. I've never flown with Air Canada, but again, we're just looking at how I go through the process of picking these flights. We see the budget airlines when you're going to the next country, and how much it comes out to. Then again, if you see this one, now it's cheaper. It goes back down to $1,500. So again, this is just playing around with dates. You have your two countries, but you're playing around with dates to find the best price. And also, I like Google Flights because it shows you like how much, baggage fees are. One airline, the first check baggage fee is $75. And other ones may have another fee, which is hidden. So again, you want to know these ahead of time. So now we're back to looking at our flights once again. And now we're going to add the third country. We're going to add Korea into the mix. So same process again. You're going to add the flight, and then you're going to add the cities and make sure your cities and your dates match up when you're searching for these flights. And then we just wait. And you see the flight prices is actually even less than Thailand by itself, Japan by itself. For this segment, I'm just going to wrap this up. I'm just going to book through. I like Korean Air. It's a very stable airline. And so I prefer those over the budget. And you'll see the flight comes out to about $1,500, which is less than Thailand by itself or Thailand and Japan. And I like Google Flights because it also shows you your baggage fees so that you know how much you're going to spend on your flight in total, which is really what you want to look for before you book your trip. All right, we're back to this home screen. Google Flights, you know where we are. So for this segment, I'm going to be doing Morocco and Spain. Some parts I might move fast, some parts I might move slow because, I already showed you how to navigate the site the first time. So again, you're going to type in Marrakesh for the first one. And again, we're just going to play around with dates. None of these dates are concrete. I'm just showing you and giving you an idea of how to search these flights. So again, we're going to put in the 12th to the 19th, and again, the first thing we're going to do is going to analyze the prices. So you see that the flights typically are hovering about $900 to $1,000. But if you scroll down, you'll also see some flights in the $700s. Remember what I said about the cheaper flights not always being the best flights. So we're going to start off with the cheaper flights, the $700 flights. And we're just going to look at the first segment. You see that there's a layover in Miami, then a layover in Madrid. I don't know if you want to do all that, but if you like to, you can book it. Again, but me personally, I would not select this flight. So we're going to go back. We're going to choose the flight that is 900. And we see that we have a solid layover in Portugal. It's about 4 hours, which is a nice sweet spot. So this is a potential flight that I would select. And looking at the returning flights is also pretty solid. So this is a potential flight. But again, we're not done. We're still just, analyzing the prices, seeing what the layovers are before we make a final decision. And you can see the different types of places where you can book the flights. If you notice, some of the third parties are more expensive. Okay? They're more expensive. I'm just showing you. Don't say I didn't tell you. Don't say I did not tell you. So again, we're going to go back and, look at the other flights. So the next flight that I'm going to select, actually, I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you that Paris layover. You see that Air France right there? Listen, those Paris layovers, you see that hour and 20 minutes? I told you about the hour and 20-minute layovers. Do not pick this flight because you'll be in Paris crying. And not for a good reason. So again, we're going to go to multi-city. And remember my hack, always choose the city that is closer to you for your first stop. So Madrid is closer to Newark in the sense that it has more nonstop flights. It's a lot more efficient to travel to. And again, I'm just plugging in the right cities and just plugging in a few dates. Right now, this is going to be a 2-week trip. So the 19th, the 26th, and March 5th. See how I'm doing this like pretty much today? You can see the dates. I am doing this today on a Tuesday, so you can see what I am doing. And then when you see the flights, you see that even after adding Madrid, the prices actually got a little lower. So you see the 800s and you see the 900s. And again, the nonstop flights. You have a couple of nonstop flights with different airlines, again, because it is easier to get to, which also brings the price down. So we're going to look at a couple of flights so that you can kind of see where my thought process is when I'm looking and trying to book a flight. So the first one is Air Portugal, and we see it has about a 2-hour layover, so we're not picking that one. I typically like to fly with United, so we're going to look at United. And then, of course, you see the European airlines in the middle from Madrid to Morocco. And pretty much the flight prices are kind of similar. But Ryanair is the cheapest. So we're going to click on that one. Again, you see the cheapest options. They both have 3 layovers. So I'm gonna show you both. And you see the layovers. You have a 15-hour layover, a 45-minute layover, and a 7-hour layover. I am never doing a 45-minute layover. I will tell you that right now. I am not doing it. And then we're going to go to the second one, just so I can show you. This one, not even any better. 50-minute layover, 15-minute layover. Yeah, I just wouldn't do this in a 2-hour layover in Chicago. Just wasting my time. So I wouldn't do that. So the last one is United. Again, you're going to save money because this is a direct flight. You don't have to worry about layovers. You don't have to worry about transportation, hotel, food. Your flight is all set up for you. So that's pretty much how I picked the flights. But look also at the baggage fees for the European airlines, because it's a budget airline. You have the carry-on bag fees, the check bag fees. So these are all things you want to take note of when you're looking for these flights. But even still, this looked like the cheapest flight. But again, like I said, the stopover program is really where you get the most benefits. So this is actually not the flight that I would pick personally. The flight that I'm going to pick, drum roll, drum roll, drum roll, drum roll. I'm going to pick the flight with Air Portugal. The reason why I'm going to pick the flight with Air Portugal is because they have an amazing stopover program. And yeah, it actually turns out to be even much cheaper, but up front, it didn't show you that. It has an hour and 45-minute layover in Portugal, but we're going to ignore that because they do have a stopover program. So I'm going to show you how I would book this flight in my next video. All right, y'all, that wraps up episode 3 of Travel School. I hope it was very informative. If you did like this video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more travel tips and travel education from your favorite gallivanting girl, the Minister of Gallivanting. And remember, I drop a new video every 2 weeks, so stay on the lookout for that.
Bye.